We now move to the main line after e4, d6, d4, knight f6, knight c3, g6, knight f3, bishop g7, bishop e2, short castling, short castling. This main line is when black plays for the move e5 with the help of c6 mainly. Because if they try to do it immediately with knight to d7, we can be the first to play e5. Say e5 now immediately, and that's kind of not very nice for the second player. If they take, we take back, and next move is going to be e6 to break the pawns and to start to attack this king. Say knight g4, then e6. This is not something that they like to do. The pawn shield is broken, and black is having weaknesses on the e file in this case. Therefore, if this happens, they play knight to e8. However, we have a very good development. We can just proceed with bishop g5. This piece is a bit too passive on the back rank. For example, if now f6, bishop c4 is awkward for black, and if they go c6 instead, which seems to be better, then we just develop our pieces. Queen is coming to d2. We intend to trade these dark squared bishops and eventually to start attack on the king's flank. Furthermore, we can bring the rooks on the open files, the center, and thanks to the advantage in the development, the advantage in space, we are better. After that, the game can proceed d takes e5, d takes e5. The pawn is protected because the queen is hanging on d8. Knight c7 is what black usually does. They want to come out with their pieces. Rook a d1, again protecting the pawn on e5. Knight e6. And here I like Rosenthal's idea, queen to e3. Rather than bishop h6, which is a blunder in this situation, you just have to beware of such tricks. After queen d8 there is Zwischenzug knight xf3. That's not very nice for us, we're losing a pawn. But after queen e3 we're in total control. For example, Svidler against Rosenthal took on g5 here. Knight takes g5. The threat is e6. If queen b6, there is also an additional threat. Queen can come on h3. That's a double attack against the knight and against the pawn on h7, and also e6 is on the agenda, so black is losing here. While in case of bishop takes e5, then rook takes d7 is very strong. For instance, bishop takes d7, queen takes f6, check on c4, king needs to retreat on h8, otherwise knight e6 check will follow. Queen e3, f takes g5, and after rook d1, white is totally dominating. In fact, he's winning. There is no way to stop queen d4 check followed by queen d7, for example. While in the game, Svidler played e6. After knight takes g5, knight takes g5, e6, to which knight c to e4 was strong. The knight is heading either for this weakened square or for the f6 weakened square, and white was better. Say bishop takes e5 can be answered queen h3 with the idea on h5 just to take this pawn, and the knight is protecting the f6 square, so here white is just mating on h7. That was the point behind knight e4. Okay, so this means that knight bd7 is not ideal, and eventually black is trying to first stop the idea of e5 and to prepare the move e5 himself. Therefore, the main move here is c6. And after that, black either wants to play queen e7, or to play queen c7 and e5, or to play knight b to d7, and after that e5. Our automatical reply in this case is a4, because black is also threatening to play b5 to expand on the queen's flank, and once that they play b5 they will be also threatening to play b4, and our pawn on e4 will be in danger. There is no need to allow black do so many things, therefore we play a4. And now we can have a look at the two options, queen c7 or knight bd7 to prepare e5. There is also move a5. This will be a subject of the next clip. In case of knight d7, we can just proceed advancing this pawn. First of all, we are grabbing some space on the queen's flank, and secondly, this is in fact prophylaxis against the move e5, because this move e5 now will be met by the simple trade, and after d takes e5, if black takes with the knight, we can play knight to d4, not to trade pieces, followed by f4, and this bishop is going after that to f3. The rook is going on f1 with central grip. And if black takes on e5 with the pawn, here comes the idea behind the move a5. We proceed with a6 and we ruin the pawns of the opponent on the queen's flank. The thing is that they cannot play b6 because of queen d6, and this pawn is hanging. And if this pawn is advanced, that one can be in danger, or we can just occupy all the light squares with decisive positional advantage. So after a6, what black can do is to take, for example, b takes a6, but then we are quite happy. We can immediately take back the pawn, or we can also play queen d6, following queen b6 with b3, and then just bishop is coming on e3, this one is coming on c4, knight on a4. It's a very easy play for us. These pawns will fall one by one. Actually, after queen b6, bishop c4 immediately might be even better, because we're hitting the pawn on f7 as well. And if this if this rook moves, we can play knight g5, and we're keeping the opponent's pieces in passive positions. Okay, on the 10th move, black can also go queen c7. This doesn't really change the character of the position. We just take on b7. Bishop takes b7. Again, we're happy. There are two weaknesses, and we just proceed normally with the development. Bishop e3. If rook f to d8, intending both knight c5, knight e6 and knight d4, or in this direction, white has a very nice maneuver. It's good for you to memorize it. This is the maneuver queen b1, stopping the influence of the rook against the queen, and at the same time intending to bring the queen on a2. After that, this queen can go further to b3 or c4, or, which is more likely, it can be supported with the bishop on this diagonal. The bishop can come on c4 to attack the pawn on f7, and not to let easily the knight arrive on e6. Also, the knight can help in this case with knight g5, so white is clearly better here. After bishop e3, if black attacks this bishop with knight g4, the simplest is bishop g5, controlling d8 and forcing some further weaknesses of black's position. At the same time, we're threatening this maneuver, knight d2 followed by knight c4. This knight will be hanging on g4, and once that we reach the c4 square with our knight, it can further on arrive on d6, or maybe even on a5. It's up to us. What else can we say about this position? Well, I don't think there is much to be said. Obviously, I believe that white is clearly better. On the 8th move, besides e5, Black can continue to prepare this idea then with queen c7. Now the queen is controlling the d6 square, but this gives us time, so we just proceed with development. We go bishop e3. We're not afraid of knight g4. In fact, in some lines it is good for us that the knight is on g4, like we saw just in the previous line. Knight d2 is gaining a tempo because the knight is hanging. And okay, let's say that black plays knight g4, then we go bishop g5. Now the pawn is hanging, so black can weaken his position with f6, to which we can come back now. Do not worry, the bishop will be soon back in business. After e5 we take, and d takes e5. We go knight g5 in this position. The threat is knight e6, and also this knight is hanging. This is one of the lines in which the space is not very well placed. And after f takes g5, bishop takes g4. White is better thanks to the more active pieces and the fact that this bishop is kind of obstructed by its own pawns. One of my games proceeded bishop f6, bishop e3, h5, check on e6, king h7, queen d2, rook d8, queen c1 back. This pawn is hanging, so black needs to advance it, but then f3 is opening the position in white's favor, and white is starting decisive attack along the f-file with very strong attack. Okay, on the knight move, after bishop e3, besides knight to g4, black can also play rook b8. This is the common choice, after which the position resembles pretty much the Philidor defense. We can now stop the move knight g4 and face b5, because this is what black wants to play, was that he goes for rook b8. We just take it, and we try to create some weaknesses on the light squares with the move d5. Just break the pawn, take away this pawn on c6. Knight c5 is the usual move. Knight d4. We're willing black to take on d5, and we insist on creating these weaknesses. If now black takes on e4 with the knight, we just straight knight takes c6, and the tactical complications are in our favor. After bishop f3, black is temporarily winning the exchange. The knight now is hanging, and the rook. The knight needs to go back. We take back the exchange, and we are very active. Our pieces are just dominating the board. After rook b1, this pawn is hanging. The knight cannot protect it because of bishop h6, and queen g7 mate is coming. This rook is hanging, and if black goes into counterattack, we take it. Queen takes c2. Now we attack the rook with some further tactics working for us. If rook to e8, we take back the pawn, making use of the fact that the dark squares are weakened, and this is going to be made on g7. And if the rook goes to d8, then we find another way to attack the black squares. Rook c6 with a tempo. The rook is jumping to c7. The pawn is hanging, and again black cannot adequately defend this pawn, because rook e8 is answered rook takes e7 anyways, and black's position just falls apart. If they don't take on e4 on the 13th move, if instead they take on d5, then we are happy. We take back with the pawn. These two squares are weakened, and we have a clear plan to play on the queen's flank. Next bishop f3 is coming, and the knight will be installed on c6. Also we can support our play with b4. Concretely, bishop d7, bishop f3. Now c takes d5. Actually I have taken before, but okay, c takes d5, e takes d5, it's a transposition. b5 here. To stop the ideas with knight b5, we play now b4, and the trick knight b3 is simply met by c takes b3, queen takes c3, knight c6. The bishops are opened, the lines are opened, and we also have very strong pawn on c6. After bishop takes c6, d takes c6, rook b to c8, rook a7, white is on top, attacks the pawn on e7, the one on d6 is also hanging, and the bishops are willing to come and to help the pawn on c6 to get promoted. What else do we have about this position? After e5, queen c7, bishop e3. Yes, black can play e5 as well, to which we can, one thing is that we can take and then transfer the knight via d2 to c4. That's one idea, or also we can think about this maneuver in the future. And the other thing that we can do is to play d5, intending a6 once more to just break these pawns and to have a very nice quick attack on the queen's flank. On the 8th move, black can also go queen c7. On the 7th move, black can also go queen c7 immediately, instead of knight b to d7. And now it doesn't really make sense to advance the a pawn, because the knight is still on b8 and the a6 square is covered, and also the queen is protecting the pawn on d6, so a5 is not stopping e5. But this time we can develop the bishop on f4, hitting the e5 square, so e5 is not a threat. Black needs to try and to prepare it. The way that they prepare it is knight b d7 again, but then we are faster, we can play e5 this time. After knight h5, bishop is coming to g5. Black doesn't have time to defend the pawn because of the move g4. If they play f6 here, we just trade, e takes back to f6, and we go bishop to e3, intending to meet f5 with the move d5 with comfortable position. Then the bishop can also come to c4, or we can also like to break the pawns and to start attacking this one on d6. This is one of the ideas that we also have. The knight can arrive on e6, and the knight on h5 can be hanging in some moments. And after bishop g5, black can also take on e5, but then we take on e7, and we have this trick, the move d5. If they take our bishop, we play d6 and we win the exchange, while the other moves can be even worse, say knight f4, d6 with a strong pawn on d6, queen b6 is just met by bishop c4, and if queen takes b2, we have knight g5 with decisive attack. Suddenly somehow the square f7 cannot be protected. If on the 12th move e4 is played, some counter-attack, then we go d6 anyways, queen a5, and just take the pawn on e4 with large advantage. Probably the best thing that black can do is just to sacrifice the exchange after d5. To take on e7, we play d6, queen d8, and we take it. Now black has the two bishops and a central pawn for the exchange, but the rook is the rook. Once if we once that we occupy the open file and the half open file, we are definitely going to be better. And we also do not argue against trading queens. One good line for us is knight e4, knight f4, and now just rook can go to e1 to defend the bishop with following queen d6. Or the other idea is just to drop down the bishop to f1, g3, and to repel the black's pieces. In any case, I'm pretty sure that white is enjoying the better chances in this line.